Why don't we go straight into Dr. Castleman.
Thanks very much. It's a pleasure to be here again, trying to do something about corporate crime in the asbestos industry. I'm going to talk about the use of asbestos, the remaining use of asbestos in the United States is in the chlor-alkali industry, in so-called diaphragm cell chlor-alkali plants. The diaphragms are used to separate the electrodes in a process where you pass a powerful electric current through molten salt solution, and the salt, sodium chloride, is thereafter converted so that the chlorine comes up on one electrode, hydrogen from the water comes up on another electrode, and the sodium chloride solution becomes sodium hydroxide, or lye. So they're called chlor-alkali plants. They sell the chlorine and the lye for industrial uses. The diaphragms are not used in water treatment plants. They're only used in the manufacturing process of making the chlorine. It's an old process. The plants that make it are 40 to 120 years old, these plants in the United States. Let me see if, what the deal is with this. There are now there's only one company that imports asbestos, and that company is OxyChem, or part of Occidental Petroleum. After Love Canal, I used to call them accidental petroleum because they had so much stuff that wound up in the environment. They still have 5 remaining plants. All told, there are 8 plants, diaphragm cell chlor-alkali plants, still using asbestos diaphragms. Others have been converted to membrane cells, which are the more modern technology, more efficient technology, or non-asbestos diaphragms. The non-asbestos diaphragms and membrane cells are more energy efficient, as well as being more environmental, and also they make a purer product. There were 15 of these plants just 6 years ago, and now we're down to 8. So the industry is making some progress, very slow progress, but some, in converting to more modern technology. Let me see. So as you've heard, the legislation and the EPA regulations would both propose to end the use of asbestos in diaphragm cells in 2 years. The ProPublica reports you've heard about, they interviewed workers at the recently closed chlor-alkali plants and found that the conditions were horrendous in terms of the lack of protective measures for the people that worked in those plants and were exposed to the asbestos in the manufacture of the diaphragms and the maintenance and the removal of the diaphragms made out of asbestos. This is something that I had long suspected, but here we finally had evidence of that thanks to the excellent report by the journalists at ProPublica. The U.S. chlorine producers have consistently refused to tell us about the asbestos exposures in their plants. Since 1972, they've been required to periodically sample the exposures to asbestos in these plants, and they've simply never been willing to share that information publicly, and EPA never compelled them to disclose that information over the past however many 6 or so years that EPA has been trying to get asbestos eliminated in this industry. The American Chemistry Council said that it would impair water purification, and as you've heard, only 6% of the chlorine in the country sold is for water purification. Most of it's used for PVC. I mean, they make polyvinyl chloride pipe and all kinds of plastic products out of polyvinyl chloride with most of the chlorine. Fortunately, as we've heard, Olin will replace the asbestos in their diaphragm cells in 7 years. It took an awful long time, but finally someone from the chlorine industry stepped forward and said that they can do better than some of the other companies that are still, like OxyChem, whining that they need 15 years to convert their plants out of the diaphragm cells, out of asbestos. So we are getting close to the end, and we'll use whatever we can, the regulatory process, the courts, and the Congress to try and shut this last thing down. The lawyers in the United States have done a marvelous job of making it impossible for anybody to use asbestos in the United States in manufacturing asbestos products by making it simply prohibitive in terms of the liabilities and the costs of insurance occasioned by the asbestos litigation in the United States. This is the only country where asbestos litigation has shut down the asbestos product manufacturing industry. So a U.S. ban, which we have been pushing for all these years, would, among other things, stop the continuing import of asbestos gaskets and brake linings and other products which haven't been made with asbestos in this country for over 20 years, but which can still continue to be imported and do continue to be imported. And so hopefully we will be able to do this through legislation. If not, we will have to do it through the regulatory process and whatever lawsuits follow that. So that's just a brief summary about the situation with the chlorine industry. Thank you.